An extended period of very cold air is about to make its way into the United States at the end of our Thanksgiving week. This comes as a winter storm is expected to usher that in, possibly bringing snow as it does so to some areas. I've got all the details on that winter storm and the big pattern change that's on the way in this video, including who could even see some longer range snow chances.
One nation weather.
Thank you for taking time out of your day to tune into this video. As always, I appreciate every single one of you who is here. Really quickly, I wanted to give a quick thank you to every single one of you who subscribed after the last video. I got almost 200 new subscribers from that one. That was a big hit. I really appreciate every single one of you who hit that button. If you're new to the channel watching this video, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button after watching if you enjoy this kind of weather content. But let's go ahead and get right into the first scenario possible for our winter storm this week that's going to eventually usher in the Arctic blast. I'm going to do so using the European model here and its associated future radar, making our way into the week ahead, and that all starts out here with a near-term storm. This is one I've talked about in the last few videos now as not really looking like much as we go out of our Monday, November 25th and into our Tuesday, November 26th of 2024. You can see here parts of the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley stretching back towards the mid-south late on our Monday night going into our early Tuesday. This model certainly showing a decent chance for some scattered showers, maybe some rumbles of thunder, but this storm is really working in some warm air. There's not going to be much of a chance of snow, not much of a chance for anything really dynamic weather-wise as this makes its way to the east. That's good news though, because it decreases the headache in terms of weather to track for this week, as there's only going to be one main storm later in the week. You can see this initial precursor storm, as I like to call it here, for the early part of the week, though, pushing its way into our Tuesday afternoon into parts of the interior Northeast, as well as even some parts of southern New England, Massachusetts, places like Boston, Worcester. You guys could get even in on some of that rainfall at that point in time. But it's once we get into our Wednesday evening when the big nuisance of a storm that is going to impact anything you have going on outdoors on your Thanksgiving Day in this region, that's when this is going to begin to get going. You can see back here moving out of parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley into the Ohio Valley. That is where it looks like our precipitation is going to kick off. The European model has this as mostly rain anywhere from Mississippi and Alabama, pushing all the way on up through Arkansas, Tennessee, and Kentucky, and then into other Midwest states like Illinois, Indiana, and over into Ohio. While you mostly see green on the map around 10 p.m. into our Wednesday evening, as we get some of that cooling off overnight Wednesday night and into our Thursday morning as this rain continues to fall over some of these areas, we certainly could see a transition or the beginning of some snow in states like especially Indiana, Ohio, as well as into southern Michigan if you go with the solution, even over there towards northern Pennsylvania and parts of New York, with the low pressure stationing itself somewhere around West Virginia with the European model. On that north side of the low, we would likely have a warm front pushing up where I'm about to draw it into Indiana, Ohio, over to Pennsylvania. If you're north of that front, that's where you've got the cool air pocket, and that's certainly where we could see some at least pockets of moderate to maybe even heavy snow briefly break out around this time frame. And then back down behind this warm front, that's where you've just got all the warmer, more mild air pushing it north out of the Gulf of Mexico. That would result in quite a bit of shower and thunderstorm activity, maybe even a few stronger showers and storms pushing through some parts of the mid-south into the southeast and mid-Atlantic. It looks like the timing on that would be as we go out of our Turkey Day in the morning, and then those storms could maybe even gain some intensity as they push towards the coastlines of states maybe like Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina on our Turkey Day afternoon and evening, maybe even impacting some of your outdoor plans into the evening hours down there in those states. The only areas really expecting, at least with this solution, precipitation to continue as we go out of our late Thursday and then into our Thursday night heading towards our Black Friday is up here in the Northeast, with this low pressure continuing to deepen, or in other words, strengthen. We could maybe even see some very heavy snowfall in interior Northeast zones. We'll certainly have to watch that potential in places like New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. But then behind this system, it certainly looks like what every model is showing is going to come true. By the time we go into the weekend after Thanksgiving here around our Saturday, November 30th, we have some very cold air pretty much over the entirety of the eastern two-thirds of the country. Could that come with some shots of snow here or there in the mix as well? That is certainly a possibility, but overall, the main story, and what I'm especially going to focus on in depth in this video, is that longer range and extended period of cold air that we could see settle in, not only for the end of November, but even as we go towards the start of December. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about the other scenario for the winter storm that's going to bring it in, using the GFS model. First of all, here as we kick off this week, it shows the exact same scenario for that precursor storm. Some showers and storms pushing through parts of the Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, Mid-South, and then eventually through the Appalachians into the Northeast. That's just in a quick window from Monday into our Tuesday. It's once we get towards our late Wednesday evening and then into early Thursday when we see that next low pressure system kicking up. GFS model overall has a pretty similar starting scenario for this low pressure, centering its way out of places like Missouri and Arkansas, moving over here into a place like Kentucky or Tennessee for the center of that low. You see that L on the screen around Nashville, Tennessee. That's your center of the low. Very similar positioning to the European model, but arguably a little bit further south, and overall it being further south means we're having less moisture move up into the cooler air zones of northern Illinois, northern Indiana, and northern Ohio. Probably less of a chance not only early Thursday morning, but even as we go throughout the rest of our Thanksgiving here for snowfall up there. If this low pressure setup that the GFS is showing, notice it never pivots up there towards Pennsylvania, New Jersey, or the New York City region as we go out of our Wednesday night into our Thursday during the daylight hours. Notice our Thanksgiving is really just spent with rain anywhere from the mid-Atlantic back down to the southeast U.S. as well as the mid-south. Nothing other than maybe a patch of snow or two on the far northern end of this in New York during that Thanksgiving time frame. And then by the time we go into our Black Friday, with that front quickly moving offshore, just like the European model showed, we basically escape with no snow up here in interior northeast zones in the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley. But regardless, what we are going to see, this is what I've been stressing all along, is that cool air to come down. Look at what this GFS model is showing. Despite the fact that this model is in complete disagreement with where we're going to see snow, if we even do, out of the winter storm that's going to bring this cool air in, one thing that it is definitely showing in agreement with the European model is the fact that we are going to see all of this cool Arctic-like air making its way down out of the north central U.S., out of southern Canada, and just infiltrating the east central parts of the U.S., at least through next weekend, and probably beyond that well into the first week of December. Let's go ahead and take a look, though, before I discuss that cool air in more detail, at your chance of snow using our European ensembles. This is like a collection of models being blended together into percent chances for specific areas to see snow, and I think it does a good job of showing the general zones and their percent chances for snow as we go towards the end of this week. When you average the European model out with other members in its ensemble collection here, I think that does a good job of kind of balancing it, and it's almost like the GFS model is being factored into these percentages. First of all, as we go overnight Wednesday night into our Thanksgiving morning, this area I have circled up there, northern Indiana, northern Ohio, and the Cleveland region, southeast Michigan around Detroit, around, I'd say, about a 40 to a 60% chance that we see some accumulating snow there, but the chance really rises, and all models, even the GFS ensembles, are in somewhat agreement that we could at least see some light snow into New York, into Vermont, parts of New Hampshire, Maine, even if it's some lighter level accumulations like a GFS solution would show towards the end of this system, or if it's with a big snowstorm like the Euro was showing when I showed it about 5 minutes ago, it doesn't really matter. You know, we're going to see possibly something up here, and the best chance for snow is definitely going to be up there in the interior northeast. What's definitely on the way, though, is that cool down. Now I think it is time that we discuss that in more detail here, using the feels like temperatures, basically what the wind makes the temperature feel like on your skin as we go through this week and even towards the upcoming weekend. Let's start here with the beginning of the week, just so you can visualize that contrast from this point to the end of the week. Monday, November 25th, in the afternoon and evening hours, any of these yellowish shades you see pushing on up towards the Midwest, Ohio Valley, the Mid-Atlantic, those indicate temperatures making their way into the 50s and the 60s for afternoon highs. We've got plenty of mild air to kick off the week here, but to the northwest of that line I have drawn on your screen, as you move out of the upper Midwest and into the north central plains, we have cold air locked up in this region. It's just a matter of how long it takes for it to make its way to the southeast, and again, it looks like that is going to begin on a Tuesday into Wednesday, but really make that real surge all the way towards the East Coast by the time we go out of our Thursday into our Friday. Let's go ahead and jump ahead to that point so that you can see that change by the time we go into our Thanksgiving afternoon. Look at these shades and make sure you're looking at the key at the bottom of your screen so you know what this means for your specific area. Into our Thanksgiving afternoon, this is during some of the peak warmth that we'll see during the day between about 1 and 4 p.m. These brightish blue shades turning into some of those lightish red shades, indicating 20 to 30 degree wind chills for peak warmth on your Thursday, your Thanksgiving. It is going to be downright cold outside, and it's even colder as you're going up there towards Minnesota and the Dakotas, where it'll be feeling more like a 0 during some of the warmest times of the day. Those 0 degree wind chills surging all the way down into southeast Minnesota, moving into parts of Wisconsin overnight Thursday night and into our Black Friday. All that is very cold. It's also going to be feeling quite cold, especially in comparison to what it has been in some parts of the southeast U.S., the mid-Atlantic, over there, even into the New England regions. You can see any of those reddish shades moving in indicate around a 15 to 25 degree wind chill, and it's only going to get cooler from here. Friday morning is not the coldest morning, I'll go ahead and tell you that. This Arctic blast is only going to continue to deepen and really fill the U.S. as we go through the upcoming weekend. Let's go ahead and jump into the afternoon of our Saturday, November 30th, so you can see how cool it will be even during the peak heating then. Keep in mind, we are still almost a week out from this, so the exact numbers could change, but overall, it looks like anywhere from the north central plains to the interior northeast, it is going to be peaking around 15 to 25 with the wind factored in for your temperature in the afternoon on this day. This is Saturday, November 30th, as I said. and back on up there into parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota, Wisconsin. It could easily stay below 0 for a feels like temperature and just continue to drop even more night by night, going into our Sunday morning, into our Monday morning, more frigid air over a lot of the U.S. Keep in mind, this is looking ahead to around the Monday, December 2nd time frame, so we definitely have some wiggle room for exactly where these temperatures could be. But based on this guidance right now, anywhere north of the Gulf Coast, really looking at feels like temperatures below freezing for our morning time frame on this day. And within this area that I'm putting these dash lines here from Montana, stretching down through Nebraska, eastern Missouri, and then curling down there to at least the Appalachians and points in between. This model is showing at this point in time pretty much all of this area below 0 for a feels like in the morning. And then on up there towards North Dakota and Minnesota, I'm most concerned about this general region because of how prolonged these below 0 wind chills will be. I mean, really from the beginning of this week all the way through at least that following week, 7+ days of below 0 wind chills on and off. Certainly looks dangerous. Let's go ahead and discuss one thing that I know a lot of you either love or hate, though, and that is snow for the longer range. Let's go ahead and talk about what's possible as we go towards next weekend. This is using a collection of models being blended out, or at least that's what I like to call this. This is your GFS ensemble as we go towards our Saturday, November 30th of 2024 into the afternoon and evening. This is that possible shot of snow that could help in reinforcing our Arctic air over the eastern half of the country. The very light blue nature of the shades of this color indicate that it is very uncertain where, if at all, the snow could be, but certainly looks like up here in the north central plains, maybe even down into the mid-Mississippi Valley, we could be watching some snow around the middle of our post-Thanksgiving weekend. As that pushes east and maybe helps in reinforcing that Arctic air, possibly some snow pushing towards parts of the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and interior Northeast. I wouldn't even be surprised if back down towards Kentucky and Tennessee, if we were seeing precipitation around this December 1st time frame, it could certainly fall as snow in the kind of cold environment we're seeing. And then beyond that point, with the Arctic blast looking like it will be reinforced once again, it is even colder over a lot of the U.S., and by that point, that opens the door for any systems that could form. With such a cold air mass in place, I wouldn't even be surprised if something like the GFS ensembles, even the European model, what they're hinting at could play out. Don't focus on that date on the bottom of your screen at all, but what I'm speculating on here and just discussing is the possibility, with all the cold air in place over the eastern U.S., that's likely by the time we kick off December, could we see some even southern snow chances get in the mix, as long as we've got cool air and a deep cool air where we're 10, 15, 20 degrees below average going on for a consistent period of time. I would assume that some sort of system could certainly work into that, and at the very minimum, things are going to be interesting to discuss as we go well into December with this cold pattern setting up. Let me go ahead and give you the latest info on this entire setup, though, with a recap of this video. First headline, of course, models are trying to agree on the more near-term winter storm that we're watching for around the Thanksgiving time frame. Snow could be possible out of that into the Great Lakes, parts of the northern Ohio Valley, as well as into at least the interior Northeast. Regardless, cold air is likely to come in multiple Arctic waves behind that specific storm, and as a result of that Arctic air moving in multiple rounds, as we go towards December, the snow track could certainly shift southward, and even as you go down there towards the south central plains, into parts of the mid-south, maybe even the southeast and mid-Atlantic regions of the U.S. No false hope for you just yet, but keep an eye on that cold pattern because we could definitely get some weird early season stuff to happen with all the cool air even into December. And of course, I'll track all of that for you in the future using the awesome weather model maps that I get from Weatherbell. You can use these maps for yourself as well. There's a free trial link for you from that company right down below in the description of this video if you'd like to access that. Of course, one other quick reminder to hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Hit the like button down below. Leave any comments, questions, concerns you have there too. I'll see you in the next update video, which I intend to have on Tuesday.
One nation weather.